Okay, we're going to create this windshield right here, and to do that I'm going to actually draw the profile of this windshield like this, and then I'm going to extrude that, and then I'll start making this inside piece. Now the video that I uploaded on Echo, he had you use a lot of construction lines, but I'm actually going to kind of sketch the outline of this profile as best I can, and then I'm going to use my dimensioning tools to add dimensions to it, and it will automatically take the correct shape and size. So let's get started over here in Inventor by creating a new part and starting a 2D sketch on our XY plane. And the first thing I'm going to draw is this bottom line, and it should be 3.04 inches, and it is a line, a straight line, so I'm going to do that. And then I'll create 3 arcs, so there'll be one here, and I know that's an arc because there's a radius measurement on that arc. And then there's another arc here with a radius of 0.4, and then the last arc here with another radius of 6. So let's go ahead and make this first line here. So I'm going to just use my line tool. I'll start at the origin, and I'll just go over 3.04 and hit enter. And I'll zoom, and then it's important that you hit escape at this point because I don't want to use my line tool. Next I'm going to be using my arc tool. Now my arc, you'll have to click 3 times to make an arc. So you click the beginning point down here, click your end point, which we know is 0.64 from my beginning point, and then you'll click to make this radius. So that will be the 3rd measurement that will be required. So I'll click at the beginning and make sure it's green. Then I want to go up 0.64, so I'm going to go ahead and type in 0.64 and click, and then I know that my radius is 6, so I'll go ahead and type 6 in and hit enter. So that's my first arc. My next arc, I'll click here and here, but they do not give me that distance. So this is where I'm kind of gonna guesstimate, and then when I do these overall dimensions it will end up being correct. So I'll click here, I'll click here, and then my last click I'll tell it that I want the radius to be 0.4. So let's click at the beginning of this line, the end of that line, and then just click over anywhere, just kind of where I think it might be. And then my last one is my radius, and I'm going to make that 0.4. Then my last arc starts where I just left off and ends down here. And the only thing I know about that is the radius is 6. So I'm going to click here and then click down here and then make my radius 6. Okay, so that's the basic shape of the outline. The only thing is my dimensions are not right yet, so I'm going to start adding these dimensions in. So the first one I'm going to add is this overall width from here to here should be 3.01. So again, that's this point to this point. Should be 3.01. So I'm going to hit escape to get out of my arc tool. Now I'm going to click my dimension tool, and I'm going to hover until I see that white dot there, and I'm going to click that, then I'm going to hover over here till I get that other white dot and drag up and change my dimension to 3.01. Hit enter. Next I'm going to do my overall height, which is 1 inch, which is from this point up to the highest point here. It should be 1 inch. I like to do my overall dimensions first, then I'll go back in and put my other ones. Now you can tell we're way off here. It's only 0.5 inches right now, so this is really gonna change things. Now that looks like it's out of sorts right now, but I'll go back and fix everything. So the other dimension I need is this one here. Should be 0.64, so that goes from this point to this point. should be 0.64. So down here to here, we want that to be 0.64. Now it's taken better shape. And then last, I need to put my 2.55 in there. That goes from here to here. So from this point to this point should be 2.55. Okay, now I know that looks terrible right now, but that's because this arc and this arc have, if I actually zoomed into that, there would be a space between those. So we need to tell those two arcs to be tangent to each other, which means they need to be connected at this one point right here. So to do that, we're going to have to delete this dimension that we just put in there, and then also this 1 inch height, we're going to have to delete that also. Now we're going to add a tangent constraint. So add a tangent constraint. Even if yours looks okay, go ahead and do this. So I want this arc to be tangent to that arc, and you can kind of see it's brought it down. And then I also want this arc to be tangent to this arc, and so it's brought everything down. So now our shape is correct. Okay, now that we've got our sketch drawn, we can go ahead and click Finish Sketch, and we can extrude that. Now if you don't want to see these dimensions on there, you can right click over here in the browser and turn off your dimension visibility. Then you don't have to keep looking at those measurements. So now I'm ready to extrude my sketch, so we can click Extrude. Now we need to know how far to extrude this. So what I've done so far is I've just drawn the profile here, and that's this profile right here, and I want to extrude it all the way to this other side. So I want to extrude it the entire width here, which is 2.55. So we're going to extrude this 2.55 and hit OK. Now this would be a good time to save your work. So I would come up here and do Files, Save As. You want to choose your Z drive. I don't have a Z drive on here, so I'm just going to put it in my Geometry of Design folder, and I'm going to call it Windshield and hit Save and say yes there. Okay, the next thing we want to do is fillet these edges. If you can see in this drawing here, this top edge is really rounded right here, and it's rounded 0.5. So we want to fillet both this edge and this edge over here. So we'll use our fillet tool right here, and we're going to choose this whole thing there and change the radius there to 0.5 and hit enter. And then we need to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to spin this around, and again choose my fillet tool and click that, and it's already 0.5 since that's the last thing I used, and then hit OK. So now we've got that top edge filleted. So the next thing we're going to do is shell out the bottom of this windshield, because you can see it, this is really hollow. Now what we need to leave is this rim that's going around it, and that thickness of that rim is 0.07. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to flip this around to the bottom, and I'm going to choose my shell tool right here. Then I'm going to choose the bottom surface, and I'm going to change this to 0.07 and then hit my check mark. And that has shelled out the bottom of our windshield. And then we'll be ready to create the piece that actually goes inside the car. So I'll go ahead and save this. That'll be a good place to save. So now we're ready to create this other rectangular piece right here, and we're going to have to create a work plane to draw this on. We can't draw it on the planes that they give us, so we're going to have to make a new work plane. So to make a new work plane, that's right here, and we're going to say you choose the one that says offset from plane, and this is where I want the plane created, is right there. And I really don't want to offset it. I really want it to be right on top of this, so I'm going to leave that at 0 inches and hit my check mark. So now I can create a sketch on this plane that was basically kind of sitting on the bottom of our windshield. So I'm going to click Start a New 2D Sketch, and I'm going to choose this plane that we just created. I'm going to pan this down so you can see. So if I go back to my drawing here, this is the rectangle that I'm trying to create. I'm going to go ahead and flip this drawing around so that it looks just like this drawing over here. So I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees so we're looking at it the same way. So I want to create a rectangle, and the problem with this is they don't really tell me the size of the rectangle. They've given me some dimensions from the outer edge to this outer edge, but that's okay because I can kind of, just like I just did when I created this profile, I can just kind of draw a random rectangle, and then when I add these other dimensions in there, it will make the size of the rectangle correct. So I'll go ahead and just draw a random rectangle on the bottom of this, and that's good enough there. And then we'll start doing some dimensioning. So I know from the outer edge of my windshield here to the back edge of the rectangle that I just drew should be 2.22. So I'm going to dimension that. The outer edge here to the back edge here should be 2.22. Okay, and now I know from this outer edge to this edge here should be 0.68. So I'm going to add that dimension. So outer edge here to this edge here should be 0.68. What that's going to do is make that the correct size now. Okay, so I've done this dimension, I've done this one. This 0.95 and 1.94, that's talking about these little tabs that we have to make on this later, so I'm not ready to deal with those yet. So the next dimensions I want to add are this way. So I know from this edge here all the way to the outer edge is 2.26. So I'll add that in there. So we're talking about from this edge down to this edge is 2.26. And then the other dimension that I need to add is from this edge down is 0.29. So I'll dimension that from here to here should be 0.29, and that's going to make my rectangle larger. So now I've got the rectangle drawn, and I've got the rectangle in the correct place. So I'll go ahead and finish. Well, I'm actually going to use an offset tool right here. I'm going to actually fillet my edges first. So we're going to fillet those. These right here. Yeah, the radius is up here. It's 0.15. It says 4 of those at 0.15. So we'll go ahead and go ahead and fillet these. So that gets done at 0.15. I really should have put my 0.15 in. There we go. And then I want to do this one and this one, and then this one and this one, and then this one and this one. So now it's got rounded corners instead of straight edges. And I can go ahead and escape out of, go ahead and close that. And now I'm going to use this tool that's called Offset to create, basically to create this inner layer right here. So I can use my Offset tool, and I want to offset this, and that's going to get offset this width of this right here is I think 0.05. Yeah, right here, there it is, 0.05. So I want to offset that, and we can tell it in here 0.05 and hit enter. Okay, so now I'm ready to finish my sketch. So now I've got this rectangle, but I need to extrude it, and so I'm going to click extrude, and this is what I want to extrude. Now I'm not going to extrude it this way yet. I'm going to go ahead and extrude it inward, but instead of using a distance, I'm going to change this to say to next, and what that does is it extrudes it back to the next surface it gets to, and then I'm going to click OK. So that's extruded that. Now the next thing I want to do is extrude that same thing out. Now it will not let me do that again, so I'm basically going to have to create this same sketch again, that rectangle that I just drew. But there is a great tool that is called offset geometry. I'm going to show you how to use that so that it will automatically sketch that for you, or project geometry. It will automatically sketch that for you. So go ahead and click Start 2D Sketch, choose this work plane again, and we're going to use this tool that says Project Geometry. So click Project Geometry, and we want to project, if you zoom in on it, it'll let you choose the whole thing. I want to project all of that. And so now, if you see, it's put it in yellow. And so now I've created that same sketch with basically one click of a button. And now I can hit Finish Sketch. So now I'm ready to extrude this, and I'm going to extrude what I just did. This one right here. And I want to extrude that one. Go back and look at my measurements. That's going to get extruded right here, 0.67, because it's from the bottom down to 0.67. So I'll type in 0.67, and this one is a distance because we're not extruding it to any other surface. And then I'll click OK. So now we've got that whole thing drawn up here. So the only thing we have to do now is add some little tabs to that. By the way, if you want to turn this work plane off over here in your browser, you can right click on that and now turn the visibility off, because we don't need to draw on that plane anymore. This would be a great time to save your work, so come up to the eye and click Save. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is create these little tabs that are on the inside of this, and they must have a slot that they slot into on the car. So what I'm going to do is create a sketch on this bottom side here on this edge. So I'm going to click Start 2D Sketch, and we're going to choose this rectangle that we just made, and I'll pan down so we can see. And my rectangle needs to be, and they give us the dimensions actually over here, it's 0.05 wide, and then this way I know that my the edge around is 0.05, and then all the way over is 0.09, so I have to subtract those two to find the height of this little tab, and that's going to be 0.04. So that's what we need to create, a 0.05 by 0.04 rectangle. So I'll go ahead and click Rectangle, and I want it to be on this line up here. So I want it to be 0.05 by 0.04, and then I'll hit enter. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. Now we could create another rectangle over here, but there's a tool that we can use. The first thing I need to do is make sure I've got this rectangle placed in the right place. So we're going to add some dimensions here. This sketch that they gave us is a little bit more difficult because they used center lines to give us dimensions. But I know from this edge to the center of that tab is 1.94 inches. Now we have to take off the 0.025 that is from the edge to the center of that rectangle. So I know from the edge, the whole outer edge, all the way to the center is 1.94, but I'm going to subtract off half of that rectangle because I don't have a center point here. I only want to this edge. So I'm going to use my dimension tool, click this edge, click the edge of my rectangle, that one there, and then drag it up, and I'm going to put 1.94 minus 0.025, which is half the width of that rectangle. So it moved it over a little bit for me. And then I can go ahead and click Finish Sketch, and well, I actually want to go ahead and copy that rectangle by using a rectangular tool here, which means that if I want this same rectangle over here, or actually even if it went all the way around, I could do that same thing. But we're going to use this rectangular tool, so I'm going to click that, and I want to choose all the sides of my rectangle. So I'm clicking on all four sides there. Make sure they're all in that light blue color. Then I want the direction to be along this line, but I don't want it going the way this arrow is pointing. I want it going the other way. So I'm going to reverse the direction so that my arrow is going the other way. Then the last thing I have to tell it, you can tell it's already putting it over there, but I need to tell it how much space is between those two rectangles. So I need to go back over here and look at my dimensions. The only thing I know is it was 1.94 from the edge to the center of this one, and 0.95 from the edge to the center of this one. So I need to subtract that off to tell me how much space is in between, and I also need to subtract off half of my rectangles. So I'm going to do that next. So I'm going to come over here and do 1.95. I think that's what it was. Let me go back over here and look. 1.94 minus my 0.95, and then I want to subtract off my 0.025, and then also another 0.025 for both halves of those two rectangles. So then I'm finished with that, and I can go ahead and finish my sketch. Now I'm getting ready to extrude those two rectangles that I just drew. So click Extrude, and go ahead and you can choose both rectangles. So I want to make those gray. You can choose them both, and I don't want them coming out, I want them going in. And again, I want to choose to next because I want it to go to the top of this windshield. I want to go to that curved surface there, and I'll go ahead and click OK. Now I can do the same thing on the other side by using a tool that's called Mirror. So in order to mirror this to the other side, I need to create a plane right down the middle of this surface here. So I'm going to choose Plane and choose Mid Plane, and I want it to be between that side and also between this side. And when I do that, it creates a plane right in the middle of this side and this side. Now that I've got my plane chosen, I can use the mirror tool. And the mirror tool is right here. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to tell it to mirror. I may have to zoom in here so you can, I want it to mirror these two rectangles. So I'm going to click that, and if you'll notice, and then I'm going to choose my plane next, which is this one here. Make sure you have it highlighted when you choose it. You can tell in green it's already putting it over there, and then just click OK. And it's mirrored those two rectangles to the other side. And again, we can turn that work plane off, so I can right click and turn the visibility of that work plane off. So I've got all four of my rectangles. Now I just need to do the one on these long sides. And I'll sort of do it the same way. I'm not going to be able to mirror on this one because when I extrude this one, that extrusion is going to be shorter than my other extrusion over here. So I'll have to do this one a little bit. I'll have to actually draw both of these. So I'll go ahead and start a 2D sketch on this surface. Not on that surface, that was the wrong one. I'm going to Control Z and undo that. I actually need to start a 2D sketch on this surface right here. If I can zoom in on it. That surface is where I need to start my 2D sketch. So I want to draw a rectangle here. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. Again, it's 0.05 by 0.04. So this time they're giving me the height first, so 0.04, and then tab 0.05 is the width. And then I want to place this one in the correct place. So I'll have to use my dimensioning tool, and I'll have to come back over here and look. So it looks like the middle of that is, I'm going to have to zoom in on that one too. It looks like the middle of that one is 1.28 from the very edge. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll have to take off the 0.25. So we're ready to come back to Inventor and dimension that. So dimension from this edge to this outer edge over here. Needs to be 1.28 minus the 0.025 to take it off from the middle. So there is that rectangle, and I can go ahead and draw the other rectangle on the other side. So we're going to draw it here. That one I didn't get it on there. So I want to make sure I click that line when I'm drawing it. So my height is 0.04 and my width is 0.05. And again, the same dimension from this edge to this edge out here should be 1.255. It's the same one as this one over here, so I went ahead and just used that again. And now I can finish sketch and extrude both of those. I'm going to extrude those separately. So we're ready to do that. So I'm going to hit extrude, and I want to choose this one. And I want it again going the other way, but I want it to be to next. And hit OK. And then just kind of turn this around. Actually, probably should have done both of those at the same time. Let's hope it does Hope it extrudes to next on both of them. Let's try it and see what happens here. So I'll hit extrude again. I'm going to click this one. I want it to go the other way. I'm also going to click this one over here. I should have clicked that first. Let's try that one more time. So I'll click this one and this one, but I want them both going the other way, and I want them both going to the next, and then hit OK. And that should have done both of those at the same time. And it did extrude that one correctly. So we're all good. So everything's done. If you want to actually make this material look more like the windshield itself, you can click this material up here, and this should be ABS plastic. So it's changed that to ABS plastic. And then if you want to change it to be transparent like it is, I can change it to transparent blue. And then these are actually usually green or red. You guys can change it to whatever you want to. You can click your color wheel there and change the color to, remember you have to have all this whole thing, and then I usually change my color, and you can make it green or red, whatever color you want it to be, and then click OK, and that's our windshield. And so save that, and we have one more part to do, and then we'll submit all of those on the Project Lead the Way website.